Welcome back to another edition of the Three Stooges Podcast. We like to have fun. We like to rib each other. We don't take each other's too seriously, but we do take the topics in the CIF, the governing body for high school sports in this great state of California, those things seriously. We have a lot today on the menu. We have more talk of transfers, basketball kids coming and going. We're not fans of it. We will talk about it again. We did last week. The grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. Cliche, but it works here. Just wow. CIA track and field championships, 105th running down in Fresno County. Chris Jackson was there. Jordan Jordan of Gold Country Media was also covering from afar, as was I. We'll talk about that. There was a disqualification for a celebration for North Salinas. What happened to 12 Bridges and its star sprinter Winston? We'll get into that. There was a trans athlete scandal, controversy, all those things you want to say going on that tied into some of our local athletes. And I think sometimes the teenagers acted more mature than the adults. We'll talk about that. Kobe Shabazz, we all call him Cheese. Grant Pacer's star receiver has given a verbal commitment to Sacramento State. How about that? We'll talk about that. Baseball, softball finishes this week with NorCal regionals. Is it a good thing? We got too many people opting out. We've got a lot of stuff going on. So it's good to have Chris Jackson of West Coast Preps and Jordan Jordan of Gold Country Media. We had a good show last week when Jordan was out, and now it's going to get even better. So Jordan, welcome back. First of all, let's just jump right in. I think there's a before we talk about the basketball transfers, let's first talk about some of the good things that came out of the state CIF meet. Brooke White of River City in West Sacramento was a second place finisher in two events, the 100 hurdles, the long jump. She was ecstatic. She wanted to get personal best. She got it. And then there's a Vanden sprinter in Solano County, Nija Sizemore. Chris Jackson, how good was she? What did she do? What was historic? And how amazing that she's only a junior.
Yeah, you said it best. She's a freaking junior and wins the 100 and 200 meters. And I know we spoke last week, Sac Joaquin section not having champions in these events at state. And what does Nyjah Sizemore do? Wins the 100, wins the 200. And when you look back at some of the history that she's made in terms of just state meets, what she did for Solano County, for Vanden itself, I posted a story this morning about her, but she's the first ever Vanden athlete to win a state championship in track and field. They've won state in other sports. We just saw football have that incredible run. Kalani McLeod was their quarterback, our NorCal player of the year. I guess you could say Vanden is, you can't just say, you sure as heck can say that Vanden is a school of champions. But Nyjah Sizemore, first Vanden athlete to win the state championship in track and field, for Solano County athlete since Luis Grzalva in 2017. She was ecstatic. A girl of faith, great personality, great character. She was just beaming with pride. When she won the 100 meters, she went down, knelt down. You could see the emotions and just the weight of that all coming. She literally said, word for word, I suck at starts. I'm terrible out of the blocks. That's the way she felt Friday when she was the top 100-meter time. And then Saturday, she felt she came out of the blocks better. Wins again, same time, 11:33, wins the 200. I think she was about fourth with 50 to 60 meters to go, comes out and wins that thing. But a huge, huge day for her, huge day for Vanden High School. She got to celebrate with Rocky Road ice cream. I always love to ask, how do you celebrate? And that was the biggest thing on her mind, was that Rocky Road ice cream. So she's deserved plenty, and she's probably deserved about 4 scoops of that every day this summer.
Talk about what happened with the 12 Bridges Raging Rhinos of Lincoln, Placer County. They went down there with high hopes, but came back with defeat in one.
Yeah, so that was an interesting situation. So 12 Bridges had qualified for a few events in there. I believe it was the 4x200 relay team, the 4x400 relay team. And then the Allie Winston was there in the 100 and 200. And the 12 Bridges decided that Winston was going to sit out of the 200 in order to give the relay team a better chance to win. And unfortunately for that, that goes against the CIF handbook, which is the basically, I believe, if I remember right, it was like the the fair competitiveness or the basically ruling that
Honest
essentially,
effort.
yes, honest competitor. And it basically it disqualified her from it. And the rule essentially is that athletes cannot. I guess I'm trying to figure out how to word this. And sorry, my computer's slow pulling up the actual rule, but essentially the rule says that athletes cannot pull out of a competition or anything like that in order to give themselves a better chance to win in another competition. Basically, it's saying, if you're in this, you've got to be in this and you've got to compete in this. And it's stated in the handbook. And I know a lot of people have mixed opinions on if it's a ridiculous rule, if it's a fair rule or something like that. But the reality is, it is something that is stated in the handbooks, and it goes with the CIF ruling. And I think it's just kind of one of those situations where it's unfortunate. And what's especially unfortunate is it's unfortunate for Winston, who had a stellar season and had a chance to medal here at state. But then also it's unfortunate for, her teammates in the relays that kind of were part of the ricochet effect of this, and they didn't get to compete either. And, it's a heartbreaking end to it. And I know we've talked about on this podcast last week, we said if you're in this event, you're among the best of the best in one of the best states at track and field. And I know it's probably something these girls don't want to hear right now because they're heartbroken over that. But I mean, the season they have nothing to hang their heads about. It's just an unfortunate situation. And, we've seen this happen before, Joe, as you've mentioned. But it's one of those situations where, I mean, the hands of the CIF are kind of tied. They can't make an exception. Otherwise, they're going to open up Pandora's box of having to essentially make an exception on everything or having to have the human decision. It's kind of like when we see the issues with some rulings in the Sac Joaquin section. And, CIF's pretty much the same way, where they're pretty firm on their rulings and they don't really budge, because if they budge for one team, they're going to have to budge for another team or another player or whatever it is. So they just kind of go all or nothing with it.
Well, it's a great point. It's very disappointing, but it is in the handbook, and coaches know this, and they talk about it, and they're reminded about it during section meets and qualifying meets and all of that. So it's unfortunate how that all turned out. But you're right, Jordan. All in all, a tremendous season. You get to the state meet, you're doing something. North Salinas had a runner. Back to you, Chris Jackson, who celebrated with a unique flair in winning her state championship race, but then was immediately disqualified for a violation of sportsmanship. Apparently, her father brought a fire extinguisher and said, "Hey, my feet are on fire," or something like that. Chris Jackson, if you could kind of clarify on that, what happened. And I think it's another thing that's stamped in the CIF handbook. And it's easy to pile onto the CIF, but what did you see? What are you hearing? What have you reported? And was it fair?
Yeah, there was so much that came out of this meet. We forget about the national news that we spoke about last week and the controversy that stemmed from there, because there were so many other things. And we'll get into what the somehow controversy over the De La Salle sprinters time. We can get into that after this as well, which just seems bonkers to me. But celebrates with a fire extinguisher. Father has the fire extinguisher there to celebrate. If you look back, I think Olympics back in the day, somebody celebrated with the fire extinguisher as well. This time, those CIF officials saw that celebration, and per their rules, as they said, leads to a disqualification. The medal is stripped in all else. And it was actually the Herald, I believe, in Salinas, that reported the story and did a tremendous job with the Monterey Herald, did a great job on the story, got the interviews with the subjects there as well. But disqualified. She won the state title too, which is brutal to have happened, but they stripped it of her. And the family had come onto publicly on the record with the newspaper down there and said that they felt that it was racially motivated. So there are a lot of layers to this story. A celebration's a celebration. I'm completely okay with celebrating, especially if you win. These moments happen once. My thing sometimes too is if you don't like someone else celebrating, then don't lose, right? We see this in baseball when people get mad at a bat flip. Well, then don't give up a 440-foot home run. I'm sorry, but that's just the name of the game. Now, these are rules. Rules are rules, right? The CIF is going to be as firm on these things as possible. It kind of goes down to letter of the law versus spirit of the law, right? It goes back to the Del Oro baseball situation. Are we going to go letter of the law, spirit of the law? CIF has shown consistency with these things as well. But there are so many layers to peel back. The family feels racially motivated by this decision, by this punishment, by this disqualification. It's unfortunate to see this happen. But even if she has the medal stripped, the disqualification, she can always say for the rest of her life that she won a state championship, and that family can always say that, right? It was something after the race. None of that affected how she ran, which is why I don't really love the disqualification of this sort of medal. It was after the race, nothing happened during it. She's still a state champion in my book, and she probably is in their family's book, and I'm sure the school still should have her name up there for that too, because that is still an if you win this state, it's not just any state. You're winning the state where record holders go to the Olympics, where winners go to the Olympics from the state every single freaking year.
Oh,
And
that's excellent. And certainly a lot of controversy with AB Hernandez, the trans student athlete from Southern California. The CIF, as we talked about last week, I thought it did a good job of preparing for this and making duplicate medals. And so she shared the victory stand as a as a two-event winner in some jumps. He was second in another event. And mostly it looked like the student athletes were very appreciative of her. Um, the trans athlete, and they backed her, including Brooke White of River City of West Sacramento. I've gotten a chance to talk to her. Chris Jackson gotten a chance to talk to her. She handles it really well. There were protests. There were people walking around with signs, "Protect Girls Athlete," blah blah blah. Here's one thing that we have discovered: the CIF, or California, is the most populated state in America. 40 million people. There's more high schools in the state than anywhere else. There's only 10 trans athletes in the state. So any notion that they've taken over and blah, 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 is not there. I understand the controversy. When other student athletes are supporting that person and it's backed by state law that there cannot be discrimination, you got to let it roll. I think some people are so vicious and nasty in their views that they'd like to have the trans athlete just thrown off the bus, under the bus, and leave them behind. That's not what the CI is all about. So that was a tough situation, a lot of pressure, a lot of stuff going on. To hear people all over social media, the CIF hates high school kids. They hate these kids. Just stop with the hate stuff. It's completely absurd. It's just weird. And Chris, you were down there. I was up here, and you saw some of that. What were some of your thoughts and vibes on that? I thought some of the teenagers handled it a lot better than the adults.
The teenagers handled it exceptionally well. I saw a lot of the athletes smiling, laughing, celebrating with AB Hernandez. They were on the podium taking photos together. I have a photo of that. I'll need to share that today. I've completely dropped the ball on sharing that photo, so I'll do that today. But the athletes had so much fun with it. And I think almost all of them realized we're in a state championship and we get to medal. Like, how cool is that, right? There's nothing like that. The CIF handled it well. It was Mitch Stevens and I spoke with CIF Commissioner Ron Nassetti before, and he's like, hey, it's state law. And AB Hernandez is still a kid as well. Say what you want to the adults, whatever it is, but don't say stuff to a kid. And I thought the crowd handled it really well too. There was one situation on Saturday where one fan may have said something. I didn't hear anything from the stands. The CIF delayed the meet for 2 minutes, making sure keep everything positive, no hate. But even when Avery Hernandez's name was announced, there was still a lot of applause, and there weren't many protesters. Friday, when I turned that corner onto Buchanan High School, a couple of on that street corner, maybe 10 more on Saturday, but it wasn't much at all. I mean, you would have national news media there taking photos of the long jump, triple jump, and getting videos of that was interesting too, because there'd be a select few of us that are there specifically to cover the track meet, right? We're covering every event. We're making sure, hey, what are the stories? How's everybody doing? Let's get photos of all these athletes. But then you would just see this just absolute group of people, photographers, TV stations, everything else, getting video and photos of AB Hernandez jumping. Then whenever AB Hernandez was not jumping, there was probably just a few of us sitting there, and getting the photos of everybody else as well. So it was unique, but at a certain point, you kind of forget this thing is going on because there was so much else. And when you're covering this, when you've got a state record broken by a De La Salle athlete, a state record broken by a Montgomery athlete of Santa Rosa, the Servite relay teams having freshmen and sophomores, the Vanden sprinter winning 2 events, Clovis North's thrower, McKay Matson, who's a 4-star BYU football kid, going down as California's best thrower ever, winning 2 events and a 4-time state champion in those, and unbelievable football player. You forget that this stuff's happening, right? We're there to enjoy it, cover this event. And I think by Friday night, it felt for the most part that you were just covering any other track meet. There were so many other situations that happened. At a certain point Saturday afternoon, I kind of forgot there was this national controversy going on in Clovis.
I think
Yeah,
at some point
it's
too,
just
I think at some point too, people forget, like you said, Chris, it's a kid. And people, it's hard enough being a teenager. It's hard enough being someone that's transitioning. Nobody's transitioning to get an edge in athletics. I mean, that is a pretty big life commitment to make to get an edge for 4 years in high school athletics, maybe four more in college athletics. So,
This wasn't the
people
CIF's
making that
fault.
claim.
It wasn't the
It's
CIF's fault. It's a state law that protects transgender athletes. And you can say that's the great part about the United States too. We're all entitled to our own opinions, political beliefs, whatnot. Everybody's entitled to those, right? But the CIF did all they could in this. It's California state law. What's the CIF going to do? Break a state law and get in major trouble by the governor's office, the government, everything else here? They're not. They handled this the best they could. The athletes handled this as well as anybody could. So the amount of smiles I
yeah,
saw on that podium for the 3 jumping events for girls and everything else. I mean, at a certain point, you're just kind of sitting there, just cherishing like these moments, right? Because this
yeah,
is the mecca of all meccas for state track.
yeah. I mean, there's still
no,
kids
it
who are going to
really
enjoy the
is.
moment.
That's exactly right. One young man from Contra Costa County who enjoyed the big moment was Jaden Jefferson. Chris Jackson, you were there. You saw him in the preliminaries. De La Salle burner, sprinter, football star, recorded. He won the prelim in 10 seconds, point oh 0.01. 10.01 seconds was a California record. Astounding. Remarkable time. He does not duplicate the time in the finals on Saturday, but he did win the state championship. Running a what did he run? He ran
And two
a
seven.
10.27, still remarkable. But then there's an odd controversy that maybe that prelim time isn't worthy of state championship marks and this and that. But Rebecca Brutleg of the media relations person of the CIF said absolutely that's going to be used, and then will be forwarded to the National Federation of State High School Associations as an official mark and all of it as it should be. What did you hear about that down there, Chris Jackson? Just of confusion.
I mean, that's the fastest I've ever seen a kid run in track in person. I grew up going to track meets in the Bay Area with my father because he was a big runner. He always talks about the great Steve Prefontaine. We've texted about Steve Prefontaine back and forth for these last few weeks, but I saw that they had multiple timing systems at this meet. Everything came down to a 10:01. It was blistering speed. It was really hot too, and those are great conditions for runners. What doesn't make sense is how now this comes out that there's controversy on it, and the meet director of the Arcadia Invitational, who also runs Prep Cal Track, said Monday on Twitter X, whatever you call it, that his publication is quote unquote not carrying results from that heat on our state all-time lists. And later in the interview with the Bay Area News Group, this is all from our friend Darren Sabager's article at the Mercury News. Check that out. He did a great job on this. But then says later in an interview with the Bay Area News Group, Gonzalez explained that none of those times fit the projection models for those athletes under those wind readings. But we don't base results off projections, right? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand projection model, this or that. Jaden Jefferson ran a state record. You can debate that all you want, but that's going to be in the CIF record books until maybe someone else breaks it. That's going to be in the NFHS, the National High School Federation stuff forever. The kid broke a record. Let's celebrate it. A 3-star North Carolina football commit breaks a state record, and now we come out with controversy because it doesn't meet a projection model. We may as well just give Folsom football the NorCal Open Division did. this fall because based on projections and roster, they're the best team in Northern California. And who's to say that they don't, right? But that's why we play the games. That's why we run these events. Sometimes you just have an unbelievable day. You have an unbelievable day on the mound. You have an unbelievable day at the plate in baseball. You have just this incredible, like Tavon Austin's incredible game in college. These days happen. That's the way it goes. I'm not going to sit here and debate and say Jaden Jefferson is not a state record holder because he is. But let's just get rid of this projection stuff. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I'll never understand how we can say it doesn't meet a projection model. He ran that race. The kid that finished in second ran a 10.0.
I mean, to me, it sounds more like someone's more upset their projection models were wrong than they are with the result. Because, I mean, it's one thing, if there's some type of scandal in this where, you think the player cheat or the athlete cheated somehow or something like that. But I mean, to say it didn't match your projection models, I mean, what are we doing here? It feels like we're just splitting hairs. And I mean, it's almost like if I were to say, "Hey, I think this football team's going to go 7-3 this year," and they're like, "Hey, I actually went 3-7," I'm like, "Nope, they went 7-3 according to my models." I mean, at this point, it's sad to see adults trying to take the shine away from a high school junior. I mean, you're taking this moment away from a 16-year-old because it doesn't fit your projections. Like, I mean, grow up at this point. It just seems like an adult whining about something because they couldn't handle that their model was wrong.
Well, you know what? Because Franklin is favored against Los Gatos in baseball today, we just shouldn't play that game, right? Los Gatos just should not make the trip up to Elk Grove.
No, I mean, it looks like I'm getting a night off because Whitney's the higher seed in softball, so I'm guessing they're going to win.
Yeah, I mean your projections are all skewed, but all right, we have some more projections here, and I project that Jordan and Chris Jackson here will agree with me. We're kind of boggled about some of these basketball transfers. It's gotten to the point now, if you're a really good basketball player, you're probably going to be plucked. Oh, you mean by a Division I college? Well, no, there's going to be a plucking order before that, meaning other high schools are going to be reaching out and tugging. What is going on? We don't see it in girls basketball in this section. We see it a lot in boys basketball. And just to refresh, Devon Duro, the 6'7" freshman standout forward for Monterey Trail Mustangs of the Oak Grove Unified, is on his way out, and he's transferring to Coronado High School, not in San Diego County, but up in Nevada. And that's a program that didn't do much. Why? Why are you leaving? It's easy to blame the student athlete. They're not making these decisions. Um, it's a colossal blow for Monterey Trail. They'll certainly recoup, and Robert Fields is a terrific coach. They'll get going. But this is an odd transfer. You're not going to get more scholarship possibilities by going to another school if you're already on the radar. Sincere Hudson, a two-year varsity standout point guard for the Inderkum Tigers of the Natomas Unified, is to be headed to Modesto Christian. Do you have to go to Modesto Christian to get even more scholarship offers when you already have them? I'm not sure. I think there's an appeal that's attractive where you don't have to be on campus every day. I just think it hurts our local product. I mean, other guys that we haven't heard of or haven't talked about, but this kind of just chafes the both of us. And Chris Jackson, over to you. These are transfer that just don't make sense. And why not stay put? We certainly can endorse and appreciate a kid's ambition, but when you already got it good, why leave? I'm just boggled by it.
A lot of it is just bad advice given to parents, given to kids, and everything else. When you're a five-star freshman, you've been invited to Team USA's training camp for I think under 16. You had Division I offers before you ever played a second of high school ball. After Cali Live, we all saw that Devon Duro was going to be a national prospect. He did not have to go anywhere. I know we were all concerned, like, how long is he going to stay here? Because it feels like we're just programmed to it at this point. But there's a lot of empty promises in this game. I'm not just saying with him either, but you'll get bad advice and stuff. And what's a 14, 15-year-old kid supposed to do? It's a kid. I'll never blame the kid for transferring, for moving. It's a lot of times it's adults trying to take advantage of kids, take advantage of families, force them to move and say that there's greener pastures here. But I don't know if there are greener pastures than playing for Robert Fields at Monterey Trail. I mean, he's one of those coaches I think a lot of us would agree. you have a son and they play basketball, you probably want them to play for Rob Fields because what he does to promote these kids, what he does to get these kids ready, hosting events, traveling, everything else. There's already enough exposure at these schools. I'm not sure how moving to a different state changes that, especially when you're already prospects with Division 1 offers or even moving schools within section. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm not in their shoes. I was never a 4 or 5 star to ever have those opportunities, so I can't say I know what it's like, but we see this more in basketball than anything else. And I just read a book recently about the whole basketball culture at the college level where we had the FBI wiretaps and all of that stuff. And they went a deep dive into the AAU scene, trainers, everything else that goes into it. And it's one of those sports where you've got some of the more crazy stuff going on behind the scenes because of all the different parties, the handlers, the trainers, the AAU coaches, heck, sometimes shoe companies get involved too, right? And that's part of where some of these FBI wiretaps came in was because of that stuff. And I'm not saying that's involved with any of this, but I'm just going down the rabbit hole of what goes on in this sport. And it's irked us. It sucks because I want to cover these kids at these schools for 4 years selfishly because it's just so much fun to watch them develop from this freshman phenom to Lord knows whatever the heck they are as a senior, dunking on guys left and right. And who knows, making Steph Curry like threes for all I know. But it's sad to see. I don't see how these moves really make situations better when it comes to your recruitment, to your basketball future. If you're good enough, they'll find you. They're going to recruit you in the AAU scene. That's where most of this basketball recruiting comes because that's when most coaches get on the road. It's not like football where they can still recruit you on Fridays or there's film from every game and they can fly back from Friday to wherever they are for that Saturday right after that game. They have the charter jets, charter flights, all of that. Baseball, softball, a lot of that's still during travel ball because you've got the series, everything's at the same time. Basketball, a lot of college coaches are at these AAU tournaments recruiting you. You'll see some at high school games, but not a ton because scheduling is just so much different when it comes to these sports. Like if you want more recruitment, maybe change AAU programs. Maybe that's the way to go instead of people selling you to me it's not even the family. I think it's the people selling you on these different appeals to boost their egos, make themselves look better and create a better situation for themselves and profit on who you are as a kid and who your great parents are.
It's exactly right. And Jordan, we don't see this in girls basketball. We don't see kids transferring out of Colfax or Oak Ridge or McClatchy or, any of our powerhouse programs, Whitney and all that. And I'm refreshed by that. I'm glad. And you're in your coverage zone includes the Folsom Bulldogs and the Sierra Foothill League teams of Del Oro and Rockland and Granite Bay and Oak Ridge and so many powerhouse programs. And we don't see this in softball. We don't see it in girls basketball. And thank goodness. But thoughts on that, Jordan?
I mean, it really is interesting why we don't see it in these other sports. I just did a story about a week ago about a club soccer team that was for one of the smallest clubs out here. But a lot of these girls had played together for 8 or 9 years, and they had chances to go to these bigger clubs and some national, ranked clubs, and they all chose to stay together, and they finished the top ranked team in California because of it. And it was coached by Cara Diedrichs, whose daughter was a star for the Colfax basketball team. And it doesn't make sense when we see these transfers. I do think a lot of what Chris is saying is people are getting fed bad advice. I remember I was talking to a parent during the baseball season of a player in this area that's a MLB draft prospect that's also committed to college, and he had told me that the college coach asked him, "What are you going to do if you get drafted?" And he said, "I don't know. We've never been through this before." And I think that's kind of the case when you get these basketball players is I think a lot of these parents don't know what the right move is because they've never been through this before. And I think unfortunately there's a lot of people in this area or in the world that take advantage of people that don't necessarily know what to do in these situations because there's no real, I guess, there's no guidelines that, comes with being a parent when your kid is a highly touted prospect, and people do take advantage of that. It's interesting that we don't see it in girls. It's a breath of fresh air. I think some of it might be we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of great girls basketball programs in this area to where people aren't jumping ship constantly to go to these big, big name schools, big name coaches. We've seen, the public schools and the little guys have their day. And hold their own. So maybe there's a little bit of that. Maybe it's just one of these things that hasn't trickled in yet. I think another interesting thing, and maybe we'll see it change, but I feel like we started seeing a lot of this transfer stuff when we got in the era of college basketball, where we had a lot more one and dones. And I think that it kind of trickled in. I think maybe you're seeing players get a little impatient. They want that change of scenery right away. And, maybe with the rise of the popularity in the WNBA, and we might start seeing some more of that at the college level of girls going in the WNBA. Maybe it trickles into this, but I think a lot of it is kind of the culture in the basketball world is there tends to be a lot of movement. It's almost like soccer in a way out in Europe where, the star players are changing teams every year and they play for every single club. And in a weird way, I think basketball is kind of shifting towards that where star players in the NBA are moving all the time. And there's constant player movement, constant transfers in college. And I think some of it might be parents getting taken advantage of or giving bad advice. And I think some of it might just be, these players are seeing their favorite athletes do it and they kind of want to replicate that in a way.
No, it's real interesting. We're almost done with the academic year. So CIF state track is over. Baseball and softball in Northern California regionals are this week. Single elimination home games, 4 p.m. starts Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. There is no state final. We have a boatload of teams in these NorCal playoffs. And I'm going to go right back to you, Jordan. But one of the things that is amazing is so it's a competitive equity model. In short, that means that the CIF will rank all the teams and all the highest ranked teams, they get moved into Division I and so forth. So if you look at softball, top seeded Oak Ridge, number 2 seeded Del Oro, number 4 seeded Whitney, number 6 seeded Rockland, all from the Sierra Foothill League. How about that? Another section powerhouse is the top seeded Vanden Vipers of Solon County in Division II. Destiny Christian is the number 3 seed. Destiny Christian, the former Capital Christian. When I talked to them after the section championship game, Chris Jackson was there too. The coaches were saying, we're begging the CIF, pull us into Division I. We want to play in Division I. Beat Rockland, lost a close game to Del Oro, so certainly worthy with Tua and her mom leading the charge, Tua the star player. And right on down the line, that's what we have. And we have East Nicholas of the northern section is the top seed in Division 4. So there we go. But I think we have an issue, and we have a potential rub that's going to continue year after year. Going to you now, Jordan, is a lot of teams opt out. And if the teams don't opt out, some of the players opt out. So you have the Del Oro Golden Eagles for several weeks, the state ranked number 1 team by Cal High Sports, lose the section championship to rival Oak Ridge Division I. They're down to how many players, Jordan? And what's going on? How come they're not all there? And is it because of ASA and other things? ASA is a summer travel thing, but what's going on with Del Oro with only 9 players, I believe?
Yeah, 9 players. At least that's what's listed on Max Preps. Now, who knows if they've pulled some girls up from the JV program to kind of fill some of those holes, because I can't imagine you're going into NorCal's with 9 players expecting there to be no hiccups whatsoever on that journey. So we'll see if there's actually 9 players on the team, but that's what's on the roster right now. It's a lot of different things. I was talking to the head coach, Sean Erickson, who's been doing this for a long time. He's taken some teams deep into the NorCal tournament before. And he said that, he partially kind of blames himself and says that there have been a few, or he feels like he probably could have kind of driven home better that NorCal's are after the section tournament. And he said that a lot of the people didn't know that NorCal's were coming the week after the section tournament. There was that week off. And so Del Oro got out of school last week and some families had scheduled vacations. I'm sure there were probably some of these kids, travel ball coaches kind of tugging at their sleeves saying, hey, we've got tournaments. We need you this week. And maybe some kids got put in a tough decision of who to choose, your high school team that you've been playing with. You want to finish out the season, but if you don't have an offer yet, a lot of your recruiting in college comes out of these travel ball tournaments and this club stuff. And I think it kind of puts a player in a tough spot where, yeah, you want to show your loyalty, but the parents are probably like, if you have an option to earn a scholarship, I mean, how can you not go those things? And I mean, that's a whole nother thing, because I say we have national recruits out here, and a kid like Tylee Kitchen going to San Diego State. I mean, she doesn't need to be in a travel bowl tournament right now. If you are a college coach and she's not on your radar, you're just not doing your job. And, certain things like that. So I think there's a little catch-22 with that, especially with a young Del Oro team that has a lot of freshmen and sophomores on it. It's an unfortunate thing to see. And I think it's kind of the catch-22 that we have of the regional tournament is, Chris, I know you've said it a few times. I'm sure when we throw it to you, you're going to have a similar thought. But when we're all on different schedules with the sections in the state and everything, that's what this leads to. If we can get all on the same page, it'll all be on the calendar and maybe parents won't be, scheduling vacations during this stuff. We've seen it before, and I get it. There's some teams that are content with the section title and a dog pile, and a lot of people feel like at the end of it, this is maybe we should end this at sections. So it's an unfortunate situation. That being said, some of the players that are there at Del Oro still, I mean, they're still in this bracket. They've still got a chance. They have the home field advantage. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them win, but I will say it's a tough order when you're losing, one of the top home run hitters in the area. You're losing a lot of solid bats, solid gloves in your lineup. But at the same time, if they do pull up a lot of these JV kids, one thing to note is this group that mostly is on JV right now won a national championship as or the Five Cities Screaming Eagles when they were in a travel softball team when they were in eighth grade. So it's not like there's slouches that are in that JV program that could be getting pulled up for this. I mean, it could be girls that have just been waiting for their chance that just had someone in front of them that was a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said that perfectly too. And I think the calendar has to be on the same page. No other state operates like this where we have so many different entities and stuff. I get why we do. California's so big, but Texas goes by the UIL. They've got one governing body, four regions. Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, Region 4. That's how it works out for their playoffs. Everybody's on the same calendar. Our problem is we're not on the same calendar. We've got our section having a week off, and I get because of graduations, but schools are graduating this week as well. We can't, the people are graduating across America last week, this week, next week. Other states have to deal with this stuff too. We can reschedule a championship game, be flexible if they've got to graduate that day because that graduation is still really important. I get that. But the graduation excuse is a little odd because every state has to deal with it. We're on a different schedule in the Sac Joaquin section. We've got the 3-game baseball semifinals, which I love. I love covering that. I love the strategy of that, but no other section's doing that. So that makes it a 3-week baseball playoff instead of 2. We'll probably have to trim that down to get to state championship type stuff in baseball. And then the North Coast section, the Central Coast section, a lot of those leagues have league playoffs and league championships. I think you're going to have to get rid of that too. These teams are playing series, multiple games against each other. That should be enough to determine who the heck your league champion is at that point, who should be the best seed out of your league. We're taking days out of that. We're taking time out of that. We need to figure out a way to where the NCS, CCS, Sac Joaquin, Southern section, all of them have the same type of playoff format. And we've also got, and then there's another problem there too, where we have a different playoff structure in terms of divisions and everything else. We have the enrollment-based model. There's competitive equity involved in that too, but it's different than the NCS and CCS, where now they just strictly rank teams. They used to have divisions by enrollment, some competitive equity in there. Now it's changed. So a lot of sections are as far apart as they can be with their guidelines, their rules, their playoff formats, and how the heck did they structure how these things go by division, by enrollment, by everything else.
Confusing because we have 10 sections, 10 governing bodies under the overall umbrella of the CIF, California Interscholastic Federation, and it's hard to get everything on the same page. The one thing about the CIF, doors are always open for discussion, for improvement. This is the same state that added regional football to the state format a few years ago, added competitive equity. There's a lot of controversy about that. You guys have written about this stuff. We've talked about it on the podcast. For the most part, competitive equity works. You don't get the vicious blowouts and football matchups and basketball matchups and baseball, softball. My point being is the sections in the CIF are always evolving, always trying to get better, always inviting input. So all good stuff there. All right, baseball. NorCal openers with local teams of note. We've got all kinds. Division One, Del Oro, the Golden Eagles of Loomis are playing at top-seeded De La Salle of Concord, two-time defending NorCal Division One champion. Franklin Wildcats of the Oak Grove Unified, the number 2 seed, taking on Los Gatos at home. Top seed in Division Two is the Yuba City Hunkers. Let's see, top seed in Division Three, the Roseville Tigers, another section champion. Lincoln Zebras are also in that field as well. And Woodland Christians, the number 1 seed in Division Four. So we got all kinds of teams that have a shot to do some damage here. It's hard. Everybody's got an ace. There's nerves. There's pressure. You hope that baseball teams haven't been thinned out like some softball teams where players are moving on. But we'll see. Jordan, what was the thinking coming out of Loomis? Or did people think that Del Oro was underseeded, too far low? I think they were about right. This is a competitive equity thing. You are in the NorCal Division One field because you are worthy of it. That's where you rank. If you got any complaints about it, go out and do something about it, which is win the game. They have a chance to win the game.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw a few things of people upset with where Del Oro was seated. And I mean, CIF does a competitive equity-based model, and there's a couple of things that I think people forget when we look into this. The first one is you're essentially seated by where the CIF has you ranked in this. And if you look at who the 1 seed in Division Two is in NorCal, it's Yuba City. And Yuba City's got a great team this year. I will fully admit that I was wrong about my assessment of them that I had earlier in the season to where they are now. That team has turned it around. I like to think they used my words to do that. I'll take all the credit. But in all seriousness, I think Del Oro is a better team than Yuba City. I think most people that cover baseball in this area would have them ranked above Yuba City, and Yuba City is a great team, but Del Oro is not going to slip below them in the rankings. And that being said, too, Yuba City is a Division Three section champ. Del Oro is a Division Two section champ, and if the margin I mean, we had a few scenarios where, like last year with 12 Bridges football, where they made that jump because the lower division team was that much better than the division above it for section champs, but if it's not a night and day difference, I think the Division Two section champ is going to get the higher ranking, and Yuba City shouldn't have to jump up to D1 to go play De La Salle. I mean, that wouldn't be right for them. And Del Oro is right where I think they should be. And I mean, yes, I can understand that it's frustrating, but realistically, if you look at how the NorCal bracket shook out, I mean, there's not really a scenario where it it feels like they got underseeded. I mean, I think you could maybe make an argument that they could have been the 7 seed instead of the 8 seed, but at the same time, when you look at that, I mean, that would mean that Del Oro is playing Franklin in a all Sac Joaquin matchup, and that would be the only all section matchup, and then Los Gatos would be playing De La Salle. And I feel like at that scenario, they probably want to avoid two teams from the same section playing each other if possible. But I mean, to say Del Oro doesn't have a chance is crazy, and I don't think they should look at this De La Salle draw as a death sentence. I mean, De La Salle lost to Whitney, they've lost to Granada twice, they've lost to St. Mary's. Del Oro, yes, technically they have 3 forfeits against Whitney. They swept that series. I mean, they have 3 wins over Whitney, and if you look at some of the other teams Del Oro his beat this year. I mean, they beat Jesuit the day after they found out about the forfeits. They went on the road and they beat Sarah 4-3. Sarah, the 3 seed in this bracket. They swept Jesuit. They beat a good Lodi team. They beat a very good Wood Creek team. So, I mean, Del Oro very much could win this, and it's not uncommon in NorCals to see low seeds make a run. Last year, Amador Valley won the NorCal softball title as an 8 seed. So, I mean, I don't think Del Oro needs to be hanging their heads about this seating. I can tell you, knowing Jordan Whitmore and how he's running that program, I think if anything, this is just more motivation to the players to go kind of prove that they feel like maybe they should have been a better seed. And like we say all the time, if you're upset about your seating, the good news is there's one thing you can always do about it, and that's go out there and win. And Del Oro has a chance to do that. De La Salle's a great program. It won't be easy to win there, but I'll say this: if you ever covered a game at De La Salle and you've seen that right field fence, that I mean, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say it might just barely be over 200 feet, maybe 250, but that would be pushing it. And when you have a LSU commit that's a lefty batter, I think he's looking at that fence drooling, going, "This could be a career day for me."
Yes, and I think it's a great point. These are high school kids. They're beatable. Franklin has battled De La Salle in the past. De La Salle is a great target. It's a great um, opportunity. I remember Del Campo baseball, the Cougars of Fair Oaks here a few years ago were moved up to I think Division 1 or Division 2, and they were like, wow, but they took it as a compliment. It means that you're in with the big boys, and you got to. I mean, if somebody were to tell the coaching staff and Mason Belding and that power packed lineup of the Golden Eagles, if somebody had told them, hey, you have a chance to win a section championship and then take on two-time NorCal Division 1 champion De La Salle in a NorCal playoff, would you take it? They would take it. They would overwhelmingly take it. So here it is. Here it is. And we know this, Chris Jackson upsets happen. Man, there are nerves. Maybe the ace is just a little off, and there's a passed ball, or somebody steals a base. This is these seeds don't guarantee anything. Top seeds aren't assured anything except having the last at bat.
Baseball's among the craziest sports that there is. Sometimes you could make great contact, but it's going straight to guys. Sometimes that's the name of the game. Maybe your pitcher is just off, or maybe the opposing bats are ridiculously good. Maybe there's just one bad hop that leads to an error, a drop because of the sun is in your face, like we saw down in Lathrop 2 weeks ago. Why can't Del Oro be in D1? They are a D1 team. In our Northern California rankings we posted yesterday at West Coast Preps, they are fifth in Northern California. I have them ranked ahead of Sarah because I go based on just what Del Oro did on the field. Second in the SFL, sweeping Whitney. They beat Sarah on the road earlier this year, so I have Del Oro even ahead of Sarah in those NorCal rankings. Why can't Del Oro do that? De La Salle's, I was there when De La Salle lost to it. This isn't saying De La Salle is unbelievable because they are. Alec Blair, Graham Schlicht, Tyler Spangler. They've got a lot of kids that could get drafted, but they're beatable. Granada beat them twice. Granada beat them 3 times last year. Why can't a great public school go to Concord and do it? It's been done before. It's baseball. We're not playing, I don't know, IMG Academy football or something. I don't know what, but we're not playing a college team. We're playing a high school team. It's who knows what happens. Jack Twos is pitching as well as he has in his career right now. A complete game in the section final, has a huge hit. Mason Belding's hitting well. Carson Moore's defense at shortstop has just been as elite of elite as it gets. So instead of saying they screwed us, how about saying, heck, they think we're good enough. We should think we're good enough too because we've shown on the field. You're what, 24-9 on the field? Why
No,
can't
and a worthy team, great opportunity. And of course, there's people on social media who says it's a travesty or tragedy. No, somebody losing their life because of a drunk driver is a travesty. A seating is not a travesty, and it's all over social media, whether it's the central section or the southern section or the northern section, and people will say the CIF hates the southern section. The CIF hates the Sierra Foothills. Stop. Stop with the lunacy. Stop with the idiocy. Stop with the rubbish. Nobody hates anybody, and it's wasted energy. You got a chance to play, you go do it. Stop with the complaining. And so I think we're going to do one more podcast next week to just wrap up the whole academic year. I think we'll have fun with it, with some of the storylines of note, what we're looking forward to next fall. Just kind of a refresh and rehash on all of that. We hope everybody's enjoyed it. We've had a good time doing it. It's so good to talk to Jordan and Chris Jackson. We're all on the same page of just trying to understand some of the stuff that goes on, but we certainly appreciate the storylines and the student athletes, and we appreciate each other. And great job again, guys. Always good to chop up shop with you and cutting wood or whatever, row the boat, whatever, all those cliches like this. But until next time, Joe Davidson, Chris Jackson, Jordan Jorgensen, we are the Three Stooges. Give us a follow, reach out anytime, and we appreciate everybody for their following, their readership, their interest, and their viewership.